You are only convincing yourself, not your specific person. And if you want to know exactly how this approach works, then keep watching. Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and hi to my new viewers. I think I do get a lot of new viewers on these videos. So if you enjoy and you actually gain something and some inspiration from this video, then I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. But today we are talking all about you and your specific person, why they are not rejecting or going to reject your affirmations. Your conscious mind and logical thoughts might be telling you that right now and reassuring you guys about you being at the center of this manifestation, not what anyone else is doing around you, especially your specific person. So stay with me on this because I promise this is some of the best advice you can get. So pause the screen if you want to take a look at what's on offer, click the description box, but now let's start the video. When you have a bad moment, a bad day, even just a bad thought or reaction, that does affect you emotionally. Your brain and body are constantly in coherence, in communication with one another. I do point out the psychological effects and what happens in your brain and your body in quite a lot of my videos. So I'm not going to repeat the exact same points every single video. But yeah, do watch some of my more recent content if you want to delve into that area more. But basically, your body and your brain, the way you think, obviously, all of it is interconnected. So it's natural that when you have a bad reaction, you see something in the 3D that you don't like, something's going on in this case, obviously with your specific person, or someone else has said something about your SP. There's so many different examples you guys might be relating to right now. I know it's going to affect you, maybe cause panic or a bit of anxiety or overthinking, maybe the, urge to spiral down that rabbit hole of feeding into that way of thinking. But those bad reactions, those bad thoughts are not going to suddenly ruin or stop your manifestation. So don't panic and think this is the end of the manifestation. It feels like the end of the world. Why is this happening? Do not panic and immediately jump to worst case scenario. A few negative thoughts and a few intrusive thoughts and, sudden reactions and thoughts that come up in your conscious mind just because of logic and past memories does not prevent your manifestation or the movement for your relationships. If it feels up and down or hot and cold, which I know a lot of you guys can relate to, don't worry or think I'm doing it all wrong. Yes, there are a lot of reasons why things might happen, and it is more nuanced based on an individual basis. Notice even with my own clients that I work with one-to-one, they do tell me, there are so many different things that are triggering or that they are reacting to, and the way things unfold and the trajectory of everyone's manifestation is what I've learned, that it is different. So I have noticed that even with my own clients, and I've related to this in my own manifesting experience. So don't think you're alone or that there's something very wrong if you have a couple bad reactions or something shows up in your 3D. That doesn't mean things are off track. Likewise, those thoughts or reactions that you have, that's not objective either. So if you panic or you think, here's a logical response to this, here's a logical analysis in my conscious mind to what just happened. Again, that is just your conscious mind being logical, trying to protect you. That's the way life works. That's the way the human brain works. So again, don't take that as objective fact. Take it all with a grain of salt. Also, after that, do not react and say, okay, well, that just means my manifestation is ruined or off. Your specific person is responding and reacting to your affirmations. It might not seem that way in your 3D. Manifesting is not visibly perfect, is not this utopian method where it bypasses all of normal life and you just go into this like fairy tale Disney reality where the next morning you ride off into the sunset with your SP. It can look up and down. And you see this a lot on social media. The trajectory of success can look very up and down. It's the same with a manifestation. It doesn't always have to be this perfect upwards kind of linear progression. So first thing to take away is that don't worry and assume something bad happens, everything's off track. And then so in that case, you don't react as badly when you learn that and start reacting from that mindset. Everything does become a lot calmer. Your mind is not as reactive or immediately spiraling. But then if you do have a bad reaction, also remind yourself, this isn't objective. This is subjective. My conscious brain is picking from my past memories and current assumptions. This does not mean my manifestation is ruined. So all of it combined, that's the first thing I want you guys to take away, that just because you're manifesting and something doesn't look perfect, do not jump to worst case scenario. So those opposing thoughts naturally will come up. It's all about how you deal with it. Are you able to then apply that self-awareness? And I'm going to go into that in the next section as well. But specifically, being able to be self-aware and flip those thoughts around, catch them, and not just spiral down that rabbit hole further and further, and then realize the next day, okay, I did not work on my mindset at all, or oh my gosh, I had such a bad day. Yeah, because you let your thoughts run wild, you didn't apply the self-awareness, and then even just catch them at some point and then say, nope, that's the old story. Okay, that's just the way my mind used to think. I'm not going to think that way anymore. Just different ways to pick yourself back up. And even if it seems unrealistic to you right now, and it's totally normal for you not to yet fully believe that the manifestation is coming together or here, if it was a full belief, you would probably physically receive it extremely quickly. You wouldn't even be applying manifestation. It would be a very natural next step in your life. It would just be an accomplishment or the natural romantic progression of the relationship. So it's normal for that belief to still be in the kind of building stages, but your SP is still reacting and responding emotionally and mentally. The inspired action, the way they are conforming to your affirmations, is happening in a natural progression, even if you don't have that belief yet. So remind yourself of that as well. So I want to read out this quote to you guys. You imagined yourself into your present state. If you don't like it, you must imagine yourself out of it and into another. So basically saying our imagination, our mental focus and mental state has brought about the current circumstances. And if you don't like what's happening in your life, if you don't like what's naturally unfolded, in this case, relating it to your relationship with SP or whatever level of relationship there currently is, then you put your imagination into shifting it around. If you don't like it, you imagine the reality that you want. You imagine the contact and the relationship with your SP that you do actually want. So it's not about looking externally and saying, I have to say this to SP, I have to go out and do this. You don't force it, you don't do that. You imagine your life and your reality being the version you want. Imagine yourself in this relationship with SP. If you don't like what's going on right now, you just keep putting your focus on the version of the relationship that you want. That is all you need to convince yourself of, that you have this relationship, that it is coming together. I don't want you guys to miss out on the final exclusive challenge video this month for the LOA Coaching Darlings. I would love for you guys to join us because members just got this challenge and will soon be submitting personal questions for the monthly Q&A that is exclusive to members. So click the join button below if you're ready to get a head start on your manifestation, submit your questions, and get access one day early to all my videos. When you work on the identity, the mental internal identity of already being in this relationship, of already having a successful relationship with SP, then that literally puts you in the present moment of already having it, in the present tense. You're telling yourself, you're convincing your own mind, which is all you need to do, that you already have this relationship, that it's already working and coming together, and everything has basically already worked out. So it's not about controlling your SP or other people. That's not part of manifestation at all. It's very much put the focus internally, and externally it will be reflected naturally, because that's where you've held your focus, your dominant focus in your own mind. And it doesn't matter what your specific person or other people are doing, because you're not basing your happiness, your confidence, your level of feeling secure, and how realistic and confident you feel about your manifestation in judging that, because we'd all take 5 years to manifest if we constantly just looked outwards at circumstances, at negative things to tell us, oh, this is what's realistic, this is where my manifestation is, this is how close my life goals are to being achieved. Anyone who did that, even literally Walt Disney, if he did that, then he would not be where he is today, because he would let everything externally tell him, I'm a complete failure. But look at it now. The more you put this internal identity into practice, basically repeating your affirmations, focusing mentally, whether it's inner conversations, visualizing. I know everyone connects more with different types of methods. Wherever you put your repetition and your dominant focus with this new identity of convincing yourself, applying a lot of repetition and saturation to your subconscious mind of having this relationship, your mind, your body, your emotions will completely stop pushing against it, stop treating it like something unrealistic, impossible, or far away from you. It will become normalized. It will become more accepted. Your emotions will connect more to it. Your brain consciously will obviously stop pushing against it. because it starts to accept it as realistic, as more normal. Your nervous system even stabilizes. So like I said, I'm not going to go too much into that. I do talk about it as well in a lot of other videos, but I wanted to highlight that what happens. And as you do that, when you stop pushing so much against your manifestation because of all these things, don't you think that is creating the right results? Because we know with manifesting, it's about applying repetition, convincing yourself of the assumption and the belief that you want to be true. And then it is mirror reflected outwards in your 3D reality because you're focusing on that version of reality. So your 3D must conform to match the reality you're focusing on. So to elaborate on that example, when you keep convincing yourself of having this SP relationship, the relationship and movement starts to build up. Inspired action, conformed emotions, a shift in positive desire and being more open to the relationship. That's what's happening for your SP. It all starts from within. We know that from just even repeating affirmations. So as you apply this practice and you see that shift in yourself, that is literal proof that your SP is not rejecting your affirmations, they are conforming to them. And you might say, well, Alexa, I'm just not seeing the shift. I'm not seeing the conforming. Look at all these negative circumstances. Well, you don't need to believe it for it to continue manifesting, for the movement to continue building. Like I said, it might be hot and cold. It might be up and down. That doesn't stop anything. That is not some objective rule or outcome that means, oh, you need to give up on this manifestation. The only thing that's going to stop movement and stop any progress for your manifestation is if you give up, if you stop putting effort into this positive mindset. For your SP's actions to start reflecting where your focus goes, you need to convince yourself of that. You need to, and you don't need to build up 100% belief, but you need to start convincing yourself of that. Apply repetition and saturate your subconscious mind by being consistent every day. Continuing to tell yourself and identify as the person who is chosen by SP, and then their actions reflect that. The more you build on that, the more their desire, feelings, actions, and the version of them in that reality, in this relationship, gets shown to you more and more. So from this state, the level of contact, commitment, and just love and development of the relationship and in the form of action that is taken by your SP gets built up more and more. It unfolds naturally. Like I said, you don't have to go out and do anything. You don't have to say anything specific. It comes together as it's supposed to in its own way. So like I said, the 3D might not reflect it, but by knowing I'm putting in this effort, I'm feeling it and seeing that internally, I'm feeling that shift, you know SP is also experiencing that. Being self-aware, this is a key element I've always talked about, or at least in the past few months, I've really stressed how important this is, because that's where you learn where to improve, where to apply your mental diet more, what's really being a block for your SP manifestation if you have been struggling with it. So being self-aware, but in a positive way as well, recognizing and acknowledging the success, even if it was a month ago, a week ago, and then since then things have been tough, still remind yourself, I got this movement, I had this positive shift, I've been feeling so much more confident. This is a sign, that means it's working. Being self-aware and uplifting yourself so you don't fall down that spiraling rabbit hole. And ask yourself as well, are you coming from a place of this new identity or from desiring it, from being separate from it? If you're completely mentally separated from it and you're trying to reach out to it, metaphorically speaking, that's not embodying that new identity. That's not telling your mind and telling yourself, I have this relationship, it's mine, it's real, it's already come together. That's you saying it's something I want, meaning you don't currently have it yet. That's a good question to ask yourself, to reflect when you think back over your thoughts this week. Do you think you've been stopping your own manifestation? Do you think you've been slowing things down? Or have you really been in the right mindset? And if you have, then give yourself a little clap, celebrate that, and tell yourself, this means I am on the right track. If you're on the right track, then so is SP. So remember that your specific person doesn't need convincing. They just need your consistency. They need your mental effort. You don't need to dress a certain way. You don't need to speak a certain way. Be yourself. Be the version of you. Live your life as you want to. Regardless, you should be enjoying your life. They just need your consistency. So your specific person will respond to this new version of you. If you want a different outcome, a different, more committed, happy version of this relationship, then you need to stay consistent and keep embodying mentally the version of you who is in this relationship. And if you guys found this useful, then I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Any other extra advice you have for manifesting an SP. And please do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. It would help me a lot, and you guys can stay up to date with all my content. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.